What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Ballion, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Mets and what they've done wrong this offseason. Don't get me wrong, they've done a lot of right, but there are some things and some issues that I have with David Stern's offseason. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo at three. Bang! Bang! At the wall, he jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, getting into the episode, and I just want to start with Jose Iglesias. Because he was signed today. I'm recording this the night before it's posted. I don't like to do it too much, but this is one of the cases where I am. So he was signed today. He signed with the Padres, a minor league contract with a camp invite. And I had a problem with that. Because I know the Mets could have given him that contract. I know it wouldn't have been a big deal. I mean, it's probably going to be around $1 million that he's making this year, if that. I know 100% the Mets could have given Jose Iglesias a chance. They did it last year. They gave him a minor league contract with a camp invite. They couldn't bring themselves to doing it again. They couldn't bring themselves to bringing back Candelita, the fan favorite. And usually fan favorites aren't all that good. This guy hit over 300 last year. This guy was an X factor. This guy was one of the leaders in the locker room, in the clubhouse. He was one of the main voices. But at the end of the day, he wasn't a part of David Stern's long-term plan. He wasn't a part of what Steve Cohen's building. Jose Iglesias isn't going to have concerts outside Citi Field at Metropolitan Park. That's just the fact of the matter. Do I have to replace the OMG sign in the background? I don't know. I'm thinking about it. But for right now, I'm going to keep it. So Mets fans, if you're watching this, let me know in the comments down below if you think I have to replace the OMG sign in my background. For now, though, it's staying. I haven't gotten over the loss of Jose Iglesias yet. You lose out on Jose Iglesias, fine. You have a bunch of second baseman, middle infield prospects in your system. But what's the point in losing out on Jose Quintana? You clearly need another starter in your rotation. You already have guys on the IL with Manaya and Frankie Montas. Jose Quintana was a workhorse. He was a bulldog. He was an innings eater for you last year. He single-handedly kept you in Game 3 of that wildcard series. He gave Pete Alonso the chance to hit that home run. You couldn't open up your checkbook and give him a $4.5 million contract? You couldn't do it, David Stearns? And I know it sounds like I'm getting all over David Stearns in this episode, and I am, because I do have problems with what he's done this offseason. But at the end of the day, I trust Stearns' plan, and this is just me looking for something to yell about as a Mets fan. I'm extremely excited for the start of this year. I mean, I can't wait for spring training to be done in about 22 days or something is opening day. So just about 3 weeks till opening day as I'm recording this on March 5th. Steve Cohen and David Stearns have put together a pretty solid offseason. It's just been counteracted by some of the injuries that have happened and some of the moves that other teams have made and some of the contracts that they gave players that you were targeting. So, for Quintana, staying on that topic, I just don't understand what the reluctance is to sign another pitcher, especially when you're sending Brandon Sproat and Blake Tidwell to the minors. Like, at least let them stay up for the rest of camp. They were dominant. Brandon Sproat, I think he allowed a couple runs, but I don't think Blake Tidwell allowed a run all of his spring training. And I think there will be a point this year where we do see either Sproat or Tidwell. I mean, Max Kranick has also looked good for the Mets out of the bullpen, I believe. So we'll see what they do with the pitching, because they do have options. I would just rather have a guy who's proven on your team, in your market, in your system, with your pitching coach, with your manager, that he can eat innings and that he could be a productive pitcher for you and he could be an integral part of the rotation, and you don't target that guy in free agency. And I get they're paying 110% of everything, of every contract they give out because they are in the Steve Cohen tax. And I get that Steve Cohen said he wants to get under the luxury tax. But at the end of the day, this is an all-in year. Why not go all in? Why not? And I get David Stearns has this mantra in his head, this idea that he can only build perennial winners. Listen, I would trade another 10, 15 years of the Mets sucking for one World Series. For one ring right on this finger. If the Mets can win one World Series in the next 5 years, I would be okay with them sucking for the next 15 to 20 again. And I get David Stearns probably isn't my president of baseball operations then, and I'm not going to be saying the same thing when they're good 10, 15 years down the line. Their prospects, they're pumping them out left and right. Their farm system's always the top ranked in baseball, one of the top ranked at least. And maybe they haven't won a World Series at that point, but at least they'll be winning. Something I haven't seen a lot of in my lifetime. I mean, I'm 15 years old. Last year was the best Mets season of my lifetime. I mean, 2015 is up there, but I'm not going to lie. I don't really remember anything before August, before Yoenis Cespedes came to town, and then it was winning every night. I actually went to Game 4 of the World Series, I believe, that year. It was either it was Game 4 because it wasn't the game that they clinched in. It was Game 4 I went that year. But other than that, what have the Mets done? 2022, you get out in the wild card round. 2016, I guess they made the wild card, but same thing. I remember 2016 less than 2015, and I don't really remember anything from either year. But it's like, this is the time. There are kids my age, there are kids a little bit older than me, that they've never seen this before. And there are people way older than me. The last time the Mets won the World Series was 1986. And you're on the precipice of doing it again. So why not go out? Sign Jose Quintana. Sign a Jose Iglesias. Stack the deck. It's going to be a better problem to have if you can't fit guys into the rotation or you can't fit guys into the starting lineup than when we're scrambling, pulling pitchers up from the minors that aren't ready to come up in mid-July because half the rotation's on the IL. You can never have enough pitching in this sport. Pitching is the one thing you want to have an abundance of. And the Mets right now, well, yes, I do think they have a relatively deep rotation with Paul Blackburn and Tyler McGill rounding the rotation out right now, 5 and 6, I believe. There's work that could have been done, and there's improvements that could have been made, and that's where I hang my hat. Because if this is the year that you're going to go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers, because the goal right now, it was nice to make the playoffs last year. It was nice to go on a Cinderella run to the NLCS. But this year, the goal is to go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers, maybe knock them off, and then meet whoever it is in the World Series from the American League and knock them off too. The goal is to get to the NLCS at least. And right now, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if the Mets have what it takes. Don't get me wrong, the starting lineup's going to be electric. I think a lot of people are overlooking center and left field on this team. I think Brandon Nimmo and the tandem of Jose Siri and Tyrone Taylor are going to have big years. I think Nimmo is going to bounce back, hitting out of probably the 6th spot most days, depending on where Jesse Winker hits, depending on what Francisco Alvarez can do, if he can step up and hit this year. But I do think especially center field is going to be a strong position this year. I mean, we know what Jose Siri can do with the glove. We saw Tyrone Taylor. I'm thinking about the Giants. I'm thinking about Tyrone Tracy for some reason. We saw what Tyrone Taylor was able to do last year. He had that. I just remember that one catch he had where he almost collided with Starling Marte in right field in Game 3 of the NLCS last year, where he was sliding in right center field. He made a ridiculous catch and saved a run, I think. Definitely saved an extra base hit. And I think he does have a really good glove, and we know what Jose Siri can do. But in the box, I think what my dream scenario is Jose Siri's the 9 hitter that acts as a second leadoff hitter. Almost what the Yankees tried to do with Anthony Volpe his rookie year. Hit him 9, but it's essentially 2 number 1 hitters in a row. Where I don't think Jose Siri is going to hit for the best average. I don't think he's going to be a guy that gets on base every at-bat like an Anthony Volpe, like a Luis Arias, that kind of person. But what I know Jose Siri can do, he can hit home runs, he can hit the ball really hard, and he's going to let you know if he hits a home run. So I don't know if it's necessarily 2 leadoff hitters, but it's another guy who's very capable hitting in the 9. And I want this to the point where if Jeff McNeil is struggling mightily and Mendoza has shown a reluctance to go to Luis Angel Acuna, whatever the case may be, maybe Acuna's hurt, Mauricio's not ready to come up, he doesn't want to deal with Brett Beatty yet. McNeil's playing second base and he's struggling. I would rather McNeil hit higher than Siri just because I think Jose Siri's the better hitter and he'll turn the lineup over better. And I know what people are going to say. Oh, well, you're talking about 2 leadoff hitters. Jeff McNeil is a batting title winner. He can hit for average. Oh, look at the second half, what Jeff McNeil did. He did that for about a week and a half. It's not like he sustained that over 3 weeks, a month and a half, and into the playoffs. He did it for about a week and a half, I'm going to be honest with you. And for me, that's not enough. If he shows some substance and he plays well, then yeah, I want him hitting 7th or 8th. But I think Jose Siri and Tyrone Taylor are going to have the 9 spot locked up no matter what. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that having a good bottom of the lineup, obviously it's not as important as having a good top of the lineup, of having guys who could thump the ball out of the park in the middle of the lineup. But it is definitely important, and it's definitely an aspect that I think the Mets are going to excel in. It's somewhere where the depth that David Stearns has acquired in the lineup is going to be super helpful, because right now you have a platoon at DH with Marte and Jesse Winker, lefty-righty. You have a potential platoon at second base with Acuna and McNeil, lefty-righty. You don't know what's going to happen with Brett Beatty. He's seeming to be, this season, shaping up to be a super utility. He is shaping up to be a super utility guy for this Mets team right now. So that's another depth piece you have. I mean, I'm forgetting who else is going to be on this bench. Luis Torrens, who had a very surprising year last year, who was very impactful off the bench. I would look for him maybe not to replicate last year, but still be a very serviceable backup catcher that the Mets can look to in times when Alvarez either needs a couple days off or he's injured. Because we saw last year he was out from April to the latter part of May. And that's when Luis Torrens really stepped up, really proved his worth. I think that was during that time was when he turned that unassisted double play in London. One of the more underrated points of the Mets season that really started one of the turnaround. I mean, obviously you have the release of OMG. You have the players only meeting. You have Jorge Lopez throwing his glove in the air. But that unassisted double play, you win that game coming home from London. I think they played the Cubs next. I think they had a pretty good series then. They were good. That was one of the points where the season turned around, and I put it on Luis Torrens. It's a good thing to put on him, but that's the fact of the matter. And for the Mets, I think there's some work to do, but I also think it's going to be a very fun season. But the last thing I want to say is that we got to stop booking it last year. Oh, the turnaround was electric last year. The Mickey Mouse run, not Mickey Mouse, but Cinderella run to the NLCS. Because it's not Mickey Mouse because they beat very good teams last year. But we got to stop looking at that. It's a new day. It's a new season. And a season where the Mets have much higher expectations than they did last year. And David Stearns did a pretty good job this offseason. I just wanted to get the problems I had with his free agency period and trading period off my chest. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoy, please consider subscribing, following, liking, commenting. We just hit the 100 subscriber mark on YouTube. Super thankful. Just surpassed, I think, 20,000 views on YouTube as well. So super thankful. More is coming on the way. We're just getting started here. I think I'm about 165 episodes in. The best is yet to come. All right, make sure you leave me a voicemail at 848-305-8073. And last but not least, make sure you keep it locked with the Sports Pod.